What happens when love turns lethal, when justice is denied for decades, and when science finally gives a name to a faceless victim? In this video, we delve into 3 harrowing cases, each a puzzle of secrets, lies, and the shadows that linger long after the crimes. First, Harry Horse, a children's author whose fairy tale life unraveled in a Shetland Island cottage. Next, the Rachel Nicholl case, a mother's savage murder on a London park trail, a wrongful accusation that shattered an innocent man's life, and a killer who hid in plain sight for 16 years. Finally, the Tammy Jo Alexander mystery. A 16-year-old girl vanished from Florida in 1979, found stabbed 47 times in upstate New York. These are stories of love twisted into violence, of innocence lost, and of the relentless pursuit of answers. But be warned, once you step into these shadows, you'll question every assumption and cling to the hope that even the darkest secrets can't outrun the light. Story 1. On a remote island in the Shetlands, a story of love, tragedy, and violence unfolded, shattering the serene facade of a seemingly idyllic life. This is the haunting, true story of Harry Horse, a celebrated children's author, and his wife Mandy, whose deaths were initially mourned as a Romeo and Juliet pact, but the truth, buried for over a year, would reveal a far darker reality. Harry Horse, born Richard Horne, was known for whimsical tales like The Last Polar Bears and a career as a political cartoonist. His wife Mandy battled multiple sclerosis, her condition worsening by 2004 when the couple moved to Bura, seeking peace. Friends described their love as a stillness that balanced Harry's volatility, but behind closed doors, his struggles with depression and drug use, ecstasy, cannabis, and a cocktail of pills would spiral into unimaginable horror. On a frigid January night in 2011, Harry's world unraveled. Witnesses reported him pacing their home, muttering, "It's a wonderful night for a killing." Hours later, the couple was found dead in each other's arms. Initial reports claimed a mercy killing. Harry had administered a fatal overdose to Mandy, then taken his own life. The community grieved, clinging to the romance of a pact to escape suffering. But in April 2012, journalist Peter Gilman exposed the chilling truth. A year-long investigation revealed no drugs caused their deaths, only blood loss. Harry had stabbed Mandy, wheelchair-bound and frail, 30 times. When the knife broke, he grabbed a second blade, killing their cat and dog before turning it on himself. 47 slashes. He bled out beside her, their home a scene of carnage. Authorities withheld the gruesome details, citing public interest. Mandy's family endured 16 months of silence, grappling with a truth too brutal to share. "They are beyond pain," her mother said, mourning a love story twisted by madness. Yet questions linger. Did Harry intend mercy, only to succumb to rage when drugs failed? Or was this a calculated act of violence? Harry Horse's legacy remains conflicted, a creator of childhood magic, undone by inner demons. His story warns of the fragility of the human mind and the shadows that can lurk behind even the brightest love. Today, the Shetlands remember a couple whose lives ended not in poetic union, but in blood and unspeakable sorrow. Story 2. On a foggy July morning in 1992, a crime shattered the tranquility of Wimbledon Commons, a murder so brutal it would baffle detectives for over a decade. This is the story of Rachel Nichol, a 23-year-old bank clerk whose death became a labyrinth of false leads, psychological manipulation, and a quest for truth that exposed the fallibility of justice itself. Rachel Nichol was a vibrant young mother, out for a walk with her 2-year-old son on Wimbledon Commons when she was attacked. Her throat was slashed 49 times. Alex, found clinging to her lifeless body, traumatized but unharmed, became the sole witness to a horror that haunted Britain. Scotland Yard's investigation fixated on Colin Stagg, a local man with a history of mental health struggles. Detectives, desperate for answers, enlisted criminal psychologist Paul Britton to craft a psychological profile. Britton orchestrated a controversial honey trap. Undercover policewoman Lizzie James posed as a love interest, coaxing Stagg into incriminating himself. But Stagg never confessed. The case collapsed in 1994 when a judge dismissed key evidence as entrapment. Stagg was acquitted, but public scrutiny ruined his life. Meanwhile, the real killer roamed free. Years later, a breakthrough. DNA evidence linked the crime to Robert Napper, a paranoid schizophrenic already serving life for the 1993 murder of Samantha Bissett and her 4-year-old daughter. Napper, it turned out, had been in a psychiatric hospital near Wimbledon Commons in 1992. In 2008, Napper pleaded guilty to Rachel's manslaughter, claiming diminished responsibility due to mental illness. The confession confirmed what Stagg had always maintained: his innocence. The Metropolitan Police publicly apologized for their institutional obsession with Stagg, admitting they'd ignored glaring clues about Napper. Rachel's case exposed a system's failure, a rush to judgment that nearly destroyed an innocent man. It also revealed the shadowy figure of Robert Napper, a predator who'd evaded detection for years. His crimes, including Rachel's murder, were later detailed in the 2019 Independent Office for Police Conduct report, which condemned the Met's handling of the case. Rachel Nichol's legacy is one of resilience, a mother whose memory galvanized reforms in policing and forensic science. Her story reminds us that justice, though delayed, can still prevail, and it urges us to question: how many other truths lie buried beneath assumptions? Story 3. In November 1979, a young woman's body was found dumped along a rural road in Cayuga County, New York. She had been stabbed 47 times, her hands bound with a belt. For over 40 years, she remained nameless, a Jane Doe symbolizing a system's failure. This is the story of Tammy Jo Alexander, a case that languished in obscurity until cutting-edge science and relentless detectives gave her back her identity and exposed a killer hiding in plain sight. Tammy Jo, just 16 years old, had vanished months earlier from her home in Florida. Her family searched tirelessly, unaware she'd been trafficked across state lines and murdered. The brutality of her death, stab wounds to the chest, defensive injuries on her hands, suggested a frenzied attack. Yet without a name, the case went cold, her identity buried under layers of bureaucracy and time. Decades passed. Breakthroughs in DNA technology in the 2000s offered hope. In 2015, genetic genealogist Barbara Ray Venter and her team compared Tammy Jo's DNA to public databases, tracing her lineage to a family in Texas. A decades-old mystery began to unravel. The Monroe County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed through mitochondrial DNA that the unidentified body found in Caledonia, New York in 1979 belonged to Tammy Jo Alexander, a revelation that brought both closure and anguish to her family. A week later, Livingston County Sheriff Thomas Dougherty announced her identity to the world, ending a 35-year wait for answers. Tammy's half-sister, Dyson, shared the bittersweet relief of knowing the truth. While grateful, Dyson voiced the pain of learning Tammy had been shot and abandoned in the woods. The family chose to keep Tammy's final resting place in Dansville, New York, where a new headstone, paid for by the Dougherty Funeral Home, replaced the anonymous Jane Doe marker. At a heartfelt ceremony in June 2015, over 100 loved ones and community members gathered to honor Tammy's memory. The investigation, however, remains unresolved. Sheriff Dougherty vowed to pursue justice, stating, "This case is burning hot." A sketch of a man seen with Tammy, a white male, 5'8" to 5'9", driving a tan station wagon, became central to the search. Despite thousands of leads, the killer's identity eludes authorities. Serial killers, Henry Lee Lucas and Christopher Wilder, were once considered, but neither could be definitively linked. In 2020, a haunting glimpse into Tammy's life emerged. Audio recordings she made in 1979, preserved on a cassette tape sent to her boyfriend. Released on what would have been her 57th birthday, her voice echoed across decades, reigniting public interest.
Well, hi Kevin, how you doing? I'm fine. That was nice to hear from you. I'm very glad to get your letter. Oh, that was cool. I'm looking at a postcard that says Moon over Miami. The alluring beauty of moonrise shimmering over the Atlantic Ocean in Florida. It's got two palm trees, the moon, the ocean, and a girl in a white shirt and black pants on it, and it's blue. Beautiful. Simply beautiful, yeah? I gotta go now, so you take care and be careful.
Investigators continue to chase leads, including DNA evidence from Tammy's clothing, now screened against national databases. The FBI's billboards and appeals have spurred tips, including a significant lead from a Tennessee trucker. Yet the .38 caliber slug recovered from her body, tested against bullets worldwide, still holds secrets. As the case enters its fifth decade, Tammy's family urges others to submit missing loved ones' information to NamUs, the database that finally gave Tammy her name. Her story, once shrouded in silence, now echoes a plea for justice and a reminder that even the coldest cases can ignite new hope. In the shadows of these stories, we find truths both haunting and profound. Love turned lethal in the Shetland Islands, where hairy horses' descent into madness shattered a family and exposed the fragility of human sanity. In London, Rachel Nichols' murder revealed not only the brutality of Robert Napper, but also the flaws in a system desperate for answers. And across continents, Tammy Jo Alexander's journey from Jane Doe to named victim reminds us that even in silence, voices can be heard, if we refuse to stop listening. These cases are more than crimes. They're reminders of lives interrupted, families forever changed, and the resilience required to seek justice. Each story challenges us to confront uncomfortable questions. How do we protect the vulnerable? How do we hold systems accountable? And how do we honor those who can no longer speak for themselves? While some killers escaped prosecution and others died before facing consequences, their victims endure, not as statistics, but as people whose lives mattered deeply. Their stories remind us that truth is worth pursuing, no matter how long it takes or how dark the path may be. So let this be our call, to remember, to question, and to seek justice, because every shadow holds a story, and every story deserves to see the light. Thank you for watching. Share this video to keep these stories alive. Subscribe for more explorations into the mysteries that shape our world. Until next time, please stay safe out there, and as always, stay curious.